Welcome back. It's time for business, and my colleague Sandra
Hi,
Afenyo is here. Hi, Sandra. How are you?
I'm very good.
And you must have heard Israel and I discussing press freedom. What
Very
for you is
important
critical
topic.
about working independently and without fear of reprisal?
We are the mouthpiece of the masses, the ordinary citizens, and so we owe them a lot of responsibilities. And so once we are being undermined, we are not having the freedom to do our work, it means that we are going to deny them that right, and that the role we have to play to be their mouthpiece. So I think that we need that freedom, and that money, the 18 million pounds that being turned towards the promotion of press freedom, I think is laudable, and we must all applaud them for the good work done.
Most certainly, and the conversation won't end here. But what's in business?
Yeah, we have a lot to talk about in business, especially on the IMF. So let's take it away. Good evening. My name is Sandra Afenyo, and as always, I'm here for business. The International Monetary Fund, IMF, says placing Ghana on a post-program monitoring will not come with strict conditions. The IMF in June this year placed Ghana on the post-program to ensure it is able to pay more than $1 billion debt to the fund. The Washington-based lender will also come out with reports to highlight risk that will impact the payments. But we'll be hearing actually from the country director of the IMF, Albert Tunamama, in a bit. But first, we have this report put together by George Yafe.
Anytime a country goes for an IMF program and it comes with some financial assistance, that money is not free. It has to be paid back when the program is completed. Ghana's recent deal with the IMF resulted in the fund advancing more than $900 million to the Bank of Ghana. This, together with existing debt at the fund, meant that the country's debt portfolio has crossed $400 million. And for a lower middle income country, it has to be put on a post-program monitoring. We understand that this happened around June this year. By this move, the IMF would make sure that the required policies are still implemented by government to ensure that the debt repayments are not affected in any way. The IMF staff will still be reviewing how the economy is being managed and provide the early warnings as well as risk. Now, these reports will be made available to the public and investors, which will indirectly act as a check on government. For some, it is expected to keep government on its toes, whilst others are describing it as timely, especially going into an election year. Sources say this move has rather given some assurance to investors who were worried about prudent spending and fiscal discipline post the IMF program. We are now picking up that this program wouldn't come with any strict conditionalities. But for those who thought that the recent completion of the IMF program would bring an end to those direct staff visits, reports and warnings, maybe you have to start revising your notes.
Let's now hear from the IMF country representative to Ghana, Dr. Tunamama, who is assuring that the post-program monitoring won't attract any condition.
The program is finished. The lending or extended credit facility has expired, right? The post-program monitoring is a process. So it's not a program. There are no conditionality or anything. It's just a process by which the fund, as a lender, because we lend money to Ghana at zero interest rate, by which we need to come and assess the capacity to repay. Okay, this is our fiduciary responsibility for the trust fund that has put the money for Ghana, right? We have once a year to write a report to say, these are the risks that we are seeing that may affect Ghana to capacity to repay. I will see it just as another layer to the Article 4, which is a surveillance relationship that all members of the IMF have, right? So this is an additional layer. So you have the Article 4 and you have the post-program monitoring as an additional layer to come and assess potential risk.
One critical thing that you're doing is to assess our ability to pay back. Now, if we are doing things that would affect that, I struggle to understand that, oh, this is just a surveillance program, we are just observing. Wouldn't that come with any recommendations to ensure that it doesn't affect our ability to service that debt?
I think that this is most useful for the managers of that trust fund, because they do some planification into when they'll get repayment, right? Having a sense that, oh, perhaps the probability to be repaid is lower or higher have some implication for how they manage this pot of money.
In other stories tonight, the Bank of Ghana has joined other allied institutions in the West African sub-region to find a lasting solution to errors in reporting balance of payments and other data-related issues. A training course organized by the International Monetary Fund and the West African Institute for Financial and Economic Management is expected to help data-gathering officials from West Africa upgrade their methodologies to meet ongoing international trends. Here's a report by Ebenezer Sabote.
Reporting on balance of payments has been the mandate of central banks globally. The program by the International Monetary Fund and the West African Institute for Financial and Economic Management is targeted at data reporting on international trade in goods and services for the West African sub-region. Speaking to Joy Business after opening the program in Accra, Head of Research at the Bank of Ghana, Philip Otu Abredu, admitted there are some gaps in the reporting formula, hence the need to upgrade capacity to meet growing trends.
There's always a deficit. I will not say there's no deficit. If you study the balance of payment data critically, there's always a line that is referred to as the errors and omissions, and it gives you a sense of the size of data that we are missing in trying to, and every country has that.
Director General of the West Africa Institute for Financial and Economic Management, Dr. Baba Musa, believes that this will improve quality of statistics which are released by member countries and fill the information gap between the policymakers and the public.
Of course, it will also improve the statistics reporting of the trade, especially in the service sector. In many of our countries, the way we compile the statistics has not been in line with the Balance of Payment Manual 2014. Many countries are far behind in the compilation principles. So what we want to do at this training is to improve the reporting of all the ECOWAS countries, specifically all the member central banks.
Members attending the program are officials from the Central Bank of Nigeria, Liberia, the Gambia, and among others.
That's all for business for now with me, Sandra Sinamafenu. I'll be back after 8 p.m. with more business news. Hello again, you're still watching Joy News Prime. Let's do the second half of business. Now, selling in automobiles is gradually taking over conventional selling in stores in recent times. This is because dealers have found it more flexible and relatively cost-effective, popularly known as business on wheel. The practice provides services to customers at more than one location. Anita Smith-Kofi has been engaging some dealers in Accra and has come through with this report.
These ladies are cooks who provide catering services to some workers within the central business district of Accra. We inquired how effective it is like to do business on wheels.
The van, you can take it to anywhere at your destination, but a shop, you can't take it. It's only here, yeah.
You buy fuel and all that?
Yes, we do, but it's packed. For we remove it when we are going home. It's packed at one place.
How long have you been cooking the van?
It's been almost like 2 years now. Almost like 2 years.
So how is the business so far?
It's not bad. It's good. It's not bad, but it's very demanding and also very capital intensive. Yeah, it's demanding because you know, this is a foreign concept that we're trying to introduce to the country. So it's pretty like something new. So you know, you have to. Since it's something foreign and it's your vision, so you have to try as much as possible to be inside, to be directing things, how the workers should, what to do and what not to do.
Christabel is a fashion entrepreneur who has also adopted a strategy of selling on wheels. She says she gets to meet prospective clients and closing on deals she hitherto won't have in a conventional shop.
Getting a shop here in Accra is not easy. Moreover, even getting one is very expensive of late. But then being on wheels is better because you're able to reach more customers in a day. We get to meet more people, new people too. But then if it's a shop, how many people will know that your shop is here, your shop is located at this place or that place? I think it is better being on wheels than having a shop.
Also stopped by this van where this man sells cosmetics. He also outlined what it is like to do business on wheels.
It's more portable than renting a shop. Why? Because one, cost reduction. Why do I say cost reduction? When you go for the shop will be more expensive than you using your personal car for the business. And another thing is that when you go for the shop, you are going to pay utility bills, electricity bill, and other stuff.
There is no gainsay that the level of competition in business today calls for more innovative strategies to stay on top.
Interesting report is certainly not coming with any rent costs. Away from that, football is a big business and no other nation in Africa wants it more than Egypt. The North African nation has struggled to attract tourists over the last decades, primarily due to bad international press following attacks on popular tourist ties. The idea is that by the time the African Cup of Nations is over, the value of the Egyptian pound will appreciate against foreign currencies. Egypt hopes to gain nearly $14 billion out of hosting the tournament. Gary Al-Smith of Joy Sports is in Cairo and has filed this report on how the football nation is cashing in on the tournament.
It's time for us to take stock of the African Cup of Nations as it goes into the business end for Joy Business. And joining me to do that is my good friend. Let him introduce himself.
Thank you, Gary.
Yes.
Hi, everybody. My name is Hani Hathout, Egyptian TV presenter from Egypt, yes. And we are on the Nile. Let's talk about what's happening here.
So, because this is his country, and he can't, there's no way I can know it better than he. Let him tell you about why Egypt needed this African Cup of Nations.
Yes, Egypt really needed this African Cup of Nations to be hosted here, because once Cameroon was stripped of the rights to host the AFCON, Sisi, the president himself, wanted the AFCON to be here. Why? To deliver many messages, like because Egypt, as you know, is now the head of the African Union. So he wanted to be hosting the AFCON in the same year, so he can deliver messages that now the relationship between Egypt and the other African nations are getting better and better. You know, as in the last period it wasn't very good. And also in security aspects, maybe, because in the last years not everything was going good, and the news outside Egypt about Egypt was not good. Like everything is Egypt is burning, and the news is very bad. So we wanted the African nations to be here in Egypt to see themselves how it's going on in Cairo and in other cities. So I think Egypt really needed this AFCON, and they are doing great in showing others what's happening.
Now, crude oil sold for $66.32 a barrel on the first trading day of the week. Gold also went for $1,412.76 a barrel. The commodity news is up next. That's all tonight for business. There's more business news on our website, myjoyonline.com/business. I am Sandra Esenamapen. Thanks so much for watching.